When it comes to Dexter, one of the most fascinating things about the show is how extreme the quality swings are. At its best, it's one of the most brilliant TV dramas ever made, balancing crime thriller, dark comedy, and deep character study with near perfection. At its worst, it's sloppy, frustrating, and even embarrassing, tarnishing its own legacy. Not that we've had 11 seasons including the revivals and prequels, it's time to put them all in order from worst to best. I'll be going into detail about each season, explaining what works, what doesn't, and why certain arcs stand out so much more than others. This is going to be a roller coaster ranking because Dexter is a show of incredible highs and equally incredible lows. Coming in dead last at number 11 is Season 8, and really this shouldn't surprise anyone. Season 8 is not just the weakest season of Dexter, it's one of the worst final seasons of any show ever. Everything feels wrong, the writing is sloppy, the characters are hollow, and the momentum of the story just fizzles. They introduced Dr. Vogel, the so-called creator of Dexter's Code, and while that idea could have been fascinating, the execution is clunky and feels like a retcon. Deb's arc is a mess after the shocking finale of Season 7 where she kills LaGuerta to protect Dexter. The writers had a gold mine of material to work with. Instead, they give her an incurring and downward spiral that resolves way too quickly. The brain surgeon plotline is dull, and Dexter himself feels like a shadow of his former self. The cherry on top is of course the finale. After 8 seasons, Dexter fakes his death in a hurricane, abandons Harrison, and becomes a lumberjack. It's the kind of ending that doesn't just disappoint, it actively insults the viewer. This season is the epitome of wasted potential, and it rightfully lands at the very bottom. At number 10, we have Dexter New Blood. This was supposed to be redemption. After years of fans complaining about the lumberjack ending, Showtime brought Dexter back with a revival, and the hype was enormous. The setting in Iron Lake had promise. The snow and small town vibe gave it a different look compared to Miami, and Michael C. Hall was still fantastic in the role, but the execution, a disaster. Most of the new characters were forgettable or downright annoying, and Harrison, who should have been the emotional anchor of the story, was unbearable. His characterization was all over the place, and the father-son relationship never reached its potential. And then we get to the ending, which somehow managed to be just as bad as Season 8's finale. Having Harrison kill Dexter could have been powerful if it was earned. Instead, it feels rushed, forced, and unconvincing. Deb as Dexter's ghost was repetitive, the villain Clancy Brown's Kurt Caldwell was disappointing, and the show leaned heavily on shallow callbacks instead of exploring Dexter's psychology. New Blood had a golden opportunity to fix the franchise's reputation, but instead it managed to botch Dexter's ending twice in a row.
How do you that up? How do you that up?
My number 9 is Season 6, which marked the point where Dexter really started losing its consistency. The Doomsday Killer plotline had potential, religious symbolism, apocalyptic themes, but it just didn't land. Colin Hanks as Travis Marshall was miscast, and the twist that his mentor Taylor was actually dead the whole time felt like a cheap rehash of Fight Club. Brother Sam, played brilliantly by Mos Def, was the highlight, and his arc added so much needed art and depth, but it was gone too soon. The season's pacing was all over the place, and the subplots, like Deb suddenly becoming lieutenant, weren't handled with the nuance the show was known for in earlier years. Worst of all, the tone started drifting away from the tight, grounded storytelling of the first 4 seasons and leaned into melodrama. Season 6 isn't unwatchable, it has its moments, but it's where you can really feel the wheels starting to come off. At number 8, I'm putting Dexter Original Sin. This prequel tried something different, exploring Dexter's early years before Season 1, and while I'll give it credit for ambition, I really didn't like what they did to the mythology. One of the greatest parts of Season 1 is the slow reveal of Dexter's past, especially the shocking truth about his brother Brian. Watching the eye-struck killer case unfold. Not knowing the connection until the reveal is part of what makes that season so brilliant. Original Sin undermines that by showing Brian already stalking Dexter and answering questions that didn't need answers. It strips away the mystery and makes revisiting season 1 less effective. On top of that, prequels often suffer from feeling redundant, since we already know where this story is going. While there are some entertaining moments, Original Sin ultimately adds very little to the franchise and actively damages the impact of earlier seasons. Number 7 is Season 6, which I consider one of the most underrated chapters of the entire Dexter saga. And while it had the impossible task of following up the brilliance of Season 4 and the haunting shadow of the Trinity Killer, when you strip away those expectations and take it on its own terms, it's actually a very strong and emotionally impactful season that deserves far more credit than it usually gets. What makes it special is how it deals with Dexter's grief in the immediate aftermath of Rita's murder, forcing him to confront guilt, loneliness, and the idea that his double life has consequences can't just compartmentalize. And Michael C. Hall delivers some of his most vulnerable work here, as we see Dexter broken, off balance, and barely able to function, which gives the season an emotional weight few others have. Then into the darkness comes Julia Stiles as Lumen, a character whose trauma and quest for vengeance perfectly mirror Dexter's own dark code, and their relationship becomes one of the most fascinating in the entire series, because for once, Dexter has a partner who doesn't just tolerate his darkness, but actively understands and embraces it, and their bond is raw, complicated, and incredibly poignant, even if it's doomed to end once Lumen finds her closure. Yes, the villains this season, Jordan Chase and his group of abusers, aren't the most iconic or flashy, but the realism of their evil makes this story hit harder, since it's not some grand mastermind, but a network of very human monsters who leave scars that feel all too real. And Dexter and Lumen taking them down together makes for some cathartic and powerful television. In the end, Season 5 may not be flawless, and some plots like Quinn sniffing around Dexter fall a little flat, but the emotional core of grief, healing, and bleeding connection makes it stand out, and it absolutely deserves more appreciation than it gets. Moving on to number 6, we have Season 7, a season that many fans point to as the true return to form after the uneven 5th and 6 years, because it wastes no time diving headfirst into the fallout of Deborah discovering Dexter's secret, and this revelation sets the stage for some of the best drama in the entire series, as Deb, the moral compass of the show, is forced to reconcile her love for her brother with the horrifying truth of who he really is. Jennifer Carpenter gives an astonishing performance as Deb, conveying anger, heartbreak, confusion, and desperate loyalty all at once, and their scenes with Michael C. Hall are electric, whereas every conversation feels like it could implode their relationship at any second, making the season crankle with tension. On top of that, Season 7 introduces Isaac Sirocco, one of Dexter's most layered and underrated villains, played brilliantly by Ray Stevenson, and unlike many of Dexter's other foes, Isaac isn't just a psychopath to be outwitted. He's a grieving man driven by love and vengeance, and his complex dynamic with Dexter, full of mutual respect and philosophical musings on loss, makes him one of the standout antagonists of the entire show. Meanwhile, the addition of Anna McKay brings yet another twist to Dexter's life, as she's someone who mirrors his darkness but doesn't need to be shielded from it, and their romance, while controversial, adds a dangerous new wrinkle to Dexter's ongoing struggle between humanity and monstrosity. With all these moving parts, Deb's moral collapse, Isaac's vendetta, Anna's arrival, Season 7 feels alive, tense, and compelling in a way Dexter hadn't felt in years, and while not every subplot lands perfectly, when you look at the big picture, it's a thrilling, dramatic, and highly satisfying season that reminded everyone why they fell in love with the show in the first place. Number 5, we reached Dexter Resurrection, the latest addition to the franchise and the massive improvement over New Blood. My expectations were low going in. After all, this was made by the same crew botched the revival, but they pulled it off. Moving the story to New York gave the show a brand new energy, and the writing felt sharp and confident again. Harrison, who was unbearable in New Blood, was redeemed here and actually became likable. That storyline with Leon Prater and the killer events sounded gimmicky at first, but was executed brilliantly, providing high stakes in constant tension. Every episode ended with a cliffhanger, the cinematography was gorgeous, and the set pieces from Prater's gala to the vault felt cinematic. While there were some issues like the detective character being insufferable and a few loose ends not being tied up, this was the true return to form fans had been waiting for. At number 4, we go back to where it all started, Season 1. This is where the legend of Dexter Morgan truly begins, and to this day, it stands out as one of the strongest debut seasons in television history. From the very first episode, the show establishes its bold, risky premise: a serial killer working as a blood splatter analyst working for Miami Metro while living by a code that channels his homicidal urges toward deserving targets. It's a razor-sharp concept, and what makes it all work is Michael C.L. Hall's mesmerizing performance. Hall steps into Dexter's skin with such confidence that it feels like he was born for this role. He balances Dexter's polite, almost bland exterior with his darkly witty inner monologues, letting us into his head in a way that makes us root for him despite his crimes. The Astral Killer storyline is the perfect hook for this first year. Unlike later seasons where the villains sometimes feel like they're parachuted in, the Astral Killer feels personal from the start, leaving clues specifically for Dexter and challenging him on a psychological level. The way the season builds toward the reveal that Brian, the Astral Killer, is actually Dexter's long-lost brother is nothing short of brilliant. It's a gut-punch twist that recontextualizes everything we've seen, while also digging deep into Dexter's fractured sense of identity. Thematically, Season 1 lays the foundation for this show's entire run. The questions of morality, the struggle between darkness and humanity, and the blurred line between justice and murder. Add in strong supporting work from Jennifer Carpenter as Deborah, who's both hilarious and heartbreaking in her vulnerability, and you've got a near-perfect season of television. It's not quite my number 1, but it's close, and it easily ranks among the best opening seasons of any show ever made. Coming in at number 3 is Season 3, one that often gets overlooked or dismissed, but deserves way more recognition. While it does not have the headline-grabbing villain like Trinity or the Bay Harbor Breacher, Season 3 is a deeply character-driven year that thrives on the evolving dynamic between Dexter and Miguel Prado. Jamie Smith brings so much charisma and gravitas to Miguel that he instantly feels like one of the most fleshed-out characters in the series. What's fascinating is how Dexter initially sees Miguel as someone who could finally understand him, and confident who shares his thirst for justice outside the law. For a while, it almost feels like Dexter has found a partner. But of course, the beauty of Season 3 lies in watching that illusion crumble, as Miguel becomes less and less bound by Harry's code. Dexter realizes just how dangerous it is to let someone into his world who lacks discipline. The slow unraveling of the relationship into betrayal, mistrust, and ultimately tragedy is riveting. The cat and mouse tension in the second half of the season builds to one of the most suspenseful finales of the entire series, with Dexter forced to eliminate someone he once considered his closest ally. It's not the flashiest season, but it's an essential chapter that digs into the risks of connection, trust, and the very fragile balance that allows Dexter to keep functioning. Season 3 has aged incredibly well, and I think more fans are starting to appreciate just how strong it really is. At number 2, we have Season 2, the year that flipped the entire formula on its head. After the calculated slow burn of Season 1, the writers took a huge gamble by making Dexter the Hunted instead of the Hunter. The Bay Harbor Butcher storyline was a stroke of genius, turning the spotlight on Dexter himself as his victims' bodies are discovered and the net begins to close around him. The tension that builds from episode to episode is electrifying as jokes played with intensity by Eric King comes closer and closer to exposing Dexter's secret. Watching Dexter scramble to cover his tracks, plant evidence, and manipulate those around them provides some of the most nerve-wracking television of the series. The addition of Lila as Dexter's chaotic love interest makes the season even more unpredictable. She's reckless, dangerous, and absolutely destructive for Dexter, but she also represents a side of him that no one else embraces. While many fans found her irritating, she serves a crucial role in destabilizing Dexter's life, pushing him into increasingly risky decisions. The combination of the Bay Harbor Butcher storyline, the dog's pursuit, and the volatility of Lila makes Season 1 a perfect storm of suspense. It was bold, risky television that could have easily collapsed under its own weight, but instead it paid off spectacularly. This season cemented Dexter as one of the most daring and talked about shows of its time. Finally, at number 1, it has to be Season 4. This isn't just the best season of Dexter, it's one of the best seasons of television, period. The Trinity Killer arc, anchored by John Lanthau's unforgettable performance, is chilling, tragic, and utterly compelling. What makes Trinity such a terrifying villain is his duality. On the surface, he is a seemingly devoted family man, but behind closed doors, he's a monstrous killer with a ritualistic cycle of death. The show peels back his double life with such precision that every reveal lands like a punch to the gut. What elevates Season 4 even further is the way Dexter sees Trinity as a reflection of himself. He believes he can learn from Trinity how to balance killing with family life, but the deeper he looks, the more horrifying the truth becomes. Their interactions are electric, filled with tension and unspoken menace as two predators recognize themselves in each other. And then, of course, there's the finale. Rita's death, discovered by Dexter in that haunting bathtub scene, is one of the most shocking and devastating twists in television history. It's not just a jaw-dropping moment, it's a turning point that reshapes the entire series and scars Dexter forever. Season 4 is television perfection, a masterclass in suspense, character study, and emotional devastation. So there you have it, the top of the list and the full journey of all 11 seasons ranked from worst to best. Dexter is one of those shows that truly defines roller coaster television. Its highs are as high as television gets, and its lows left fans frustrated and heartbroken. But even with its inconsistencies, Dexter remains a one-of-a-kind series, anchored by one of the most complex and fascinating characters ever created for television. Years later, we're still talking about it, still debating the rankings, and still reliving the shock of those unforgettable moments. Whether you loved it, hated it, or felt somewhere in between, there's no denying the impact Dexter had on the landscape of modern TV. Rewatching it today is a reminder of just how dark, thrilling, and unforgettable this journey truly was.